Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Many people in San Diego are joining others around the world celebrating the election of the new Pope, Leo XIV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. KPBS reporter John Carroll talked to some young Catholics and found out about a special connection to the new pontiff has to San Diego.
The year was 2012, the 90th anniversary of St. Augustine High School in North Park. As part of the celebration that year, a priest who was then the prior of the Order of St. Augustine paid a visit to the school. He was Father Robert Prevost then. He's Pope Leo XIV now. St. Augustine Principal James Horn says those who were there at the time recall the event with joy. A statement released by Principal Horn says in part, to now see him step onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica as the 267th Pope is nothing short of humbling. A fellow Augustinian, a man of deep faith, his presence at Saints left a lasting impression, and now his papacy begins with that same spirit of service, wisdom, and humility. At the Roman Catholic University of San Diego, we found a mixture of joy and hope for the election of the new pope.
I think that he's a great choice. Not a lot of people saw him as the choice for pope.
Alan Hickerson is in his first year at USD. I asked him why he thinks that the Chicago native is a great choice.
Having an American pope, I think, especially one that has had a global experience, is something to really look forward to. And then additionally, I think the fact that he spent so much time abroad in Peru, you know, as a Latino as well, I think that there's a lot of excitement with the Latino community.
I heard American, that's the only headline I saw.
Joseph Nguyen is in his last year at USD.
And I love that he is a big advocate for Catholic social teaching. And I love that he is kind of trying to bridge the gap between traditional and a little bit more progressive.
Not even a day had passed before some on the American right were criticizing Leo, some calling him a communist and a liberal. But USD's Vice President for Mission Integration says using a political lens to describe how Leo stands on any issue misunderstands how faith and the church works.
But that's the beauty of Catholic social teaching in particular, which is that it doesn't neatly line up with either of the political parties in the United States, and therefore it can challenge all of us.
Lovett Collier agrees with Alan Hickerson and Joseph Nguyen that having an American on the throne of St. Peter is a good thing.
Leo XIV is from the United States, but he's only spent 1/3 of his life here, so he's not only a U.S. citizen, he's also a citizen of Peru, very much a multicultural, multilingual person. One of my colleagues described him as an American pope with a Latin American heart.
San Diego will undoubtedly be on Pope Leo's mind fairly early on in his papacy. That's because after Pope Francis moved Cardinal McElroy from San Diego to the Archdiocese of Washington, San Diego was left without a bishop. Pope Leo will have a say in who that person turns out to be. At USD, John Carroll, KPBS News.
We are looking at some warm days ahead as we head into the weekend. High pressure settling in across the western U.S. And this means for us, our numbers go up. But the roller coaster ride is only just beginning. I'll have the full forecast coming up.
Carlsbad has a long-standing ban on new drive-thrus in the city, but as KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wynn tells us, the City Council recently approved a policy that could pave the way for more.
Since 1998, the only drive-thrus in Carlsbad have been the ones that were already there before the ban. Recently, the city council voted 3-2 for a policy that would allow for more drive-thrus.
I'm excited.
Brett Schanzenbach with Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce is among those advocating to lift the outdated ban.
We're excited, as a chamber, we're excited that a path now exists. I hope that the path can become less onerous on the businesses over time.
The ban was originally put in place when Legoland first came to town. Back then, the city was concerned the area near the park would mirror the commercial sprawl seen around Disneyland. The area is now fully built out, making that issue moot. Councilmember Teresa Acosta was one of the two who voted against the new policy. She expressed concerns about the effects drive-thrus would have on the surrounding neighborhoods.
And I don't want our city to be a stop off the 5 for people to grab food from a fast food location and move along. We already have 12 of those.
The ban, however, creates an awkward situation where newer restaurants are next to older ones with drive-thrus. This Chick-fil-A was built after the ban was in place. As you can see, it's right next to a very busy drive-thru, but it has infrastructure in place for a drive-thru should the city council lift the ban. The new policy doesn't lift the ban. Instead, it lets the city issue conditional use permits and zoning amendments for individual locations. Schanzenbach calls that winning the battle, but not the war.
This particular avenue that they've chosen is definitely going to only have limited people even start it because of the time involved, the money involved, and how the onerous is all on the business itself.
He says some developers who can't open new drive-thrus are hesitating, like TRC Retail, which owns La Costa Town Square. In a statement, the company says, "We are evaluating the city council decision to assess whether or not it makes sense to bring forward any plan for La Costa Town Square." In the meantime, it's business as usual for existing drive-thrus in Carlsbad. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
There's a new study predicting gas prices in California could rise as much as $3, and experts cite closing refineries as one of the reasons for the potential sticker shock, which has already started in some parts of the state. Madison Keevy reports.
And they're just pushing the price up, pushing it up, pushing it up.
Prices that start with a 4 are unusual to see at Ernie's General Store in Delhi in Stockton.
A little over a week ago, you were at what price?
$3.99.
What are you today?
$4.49.
The owner and namesake, Ernie, typically has the lowest prices in the area. But staying at his normal rock-bottom prices has become nearly impossible.
The price of gas since this weekend went up to me 50 cents a gallon. Since last Friday. And it's going up another 5 to 7 cents tonight with no end in sight.
Look, we built models, multiple models, okay? And it really doesn't matter whether it's $8 or $7 or $7.50. The models all indicate the price of gas is going up.
I took questions about price spikes to Michael Mache. He's an associate professor of professional practice at USC and put out a new study making headlines over one finding in particular. Gas prices in California could potentially increase up to 75% by the end of 2026 as the state prepares to lose nearly 1/5 of its oil refining capacity.
But the key to concentrate on is those regulatory cost components. They're going up. And that's something that the state can do something about today if it chose to.
Some of those regulatory costs making California gas that's up to California standards. It's much cleaner than what's used in the rest of the country. Now consider a fire in February at a refinery in Martinez and a fire this week at the Valero refinery in Benicia. An expert put it in perspective, supply is constrained.
And you can get some gasoline from other parts of the world and perhaps from Washington State, but you're just far removed from it. So I think you're going to have to buckle down and realize that Northern California in particular, and California as a state, is going to pay.
That's a reality that Californians like Ernie are living out now.
Right now, I'm not absolutely the lowest, but I have a lot of loyal customers, as you can see.
And that was Madison Keevy with that report. Here is a check on gas prices in San Diego County. According to AAA, the average price for a gallon today was $4.77. That's nearly 3.5 cents more than a week ago, but the cost is still about 52 cents lower than it was 1 year ago.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the News Hour, the challenges Pope Leo XIV must now address as head of the Catholic Church. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
What would you do if someone gave you $1 million with no strings attached? In 2021, a local nonprofit actually got $1 million from billionaire Mackenzie Scott. KPBS reporter Melissa May told you about David Harp's foundation when they first found out about the donation. And she recently checked in to see how they spent their 7-figure gift.
Welcome to the Transformation Home. Come on in, let's go. Cool. So right here, we have our beautiful kitchen.
For Adrian Quintero, his home for the last 8 months represents something bigger.
Like a true loving ecosystem, like a thriving, I think I look at like plants. There's a lot of plants around here. And I think if you look at a plant that, might be dehydrated or doesn't have enough food, you put it in an ecosystem that's thriving and it's really able to transform it.
He says the Transformation House ecosystem creates a safe community for youth exiting the juvenile justice system, helping prepare them for the future.
What I've been able to see is through a lot of students, they're able to come in and not really understand what they need, but are able to be transformed by community and love and stability in this place, while also setting them up for the future.
Quintero is the house manager, helping residents learn how to live independently.
What it looks like to prep food and actually make your own food, that's a thing. Doing laundry all the time, what does that look like? Cleaning up, doing house chores. And so sometimes as a young person, it's hard to do all these things. And so you need just somebody to be like, hey, all right, guys, we're gonna do this.
It's all part of a program run by the David Harp Foundation. In addition to giving youth at risk of homelessness a place to live, they teach them essential skills and job training through music and media.
Building relationships through art, earning relationships, and then walking kids back into the community with a trusted adult, a mentor to help them walk them through the process of probation. And really, that's the heart of what this is.
David's Harp is Brandon Stepp's vision.
The challenges of young people as they come back into community from juvenile detention are a lot. Everything from literally from housing to, workforce and job things, but also really connection and relationship.
In 2021, billionaire Mackenzie Scott selected David's Harp to receive a $1 million gift, no strings attached. At first, Stepp didn't know what to do with it. Then one day...
So I was driving downtown, coming down the 94 freeway, coming to our BizPod program where young people are building businesses. And at the time, a little over 60% of those kids were experiencing homelessness. And so you had kids that were coming, showing up, bringing their full self, investing in the skills that they needed to run businesses, but having to figure out where to sleep at night. Sleeping in cars, sleeping in friends' couches and couch surfing. And it just dawned on me, we need to be able to build an infrastructure where these kids can really launch out from a house into their own housing. We needed our own house. So that's what we did. We purchased a home.
Currently, 4 youth live at the house, and there are plans for expanding it into a village.
They're able to pay $500 a month in rent. That $500 is saved for them in escrow. And after 12 months, they get all of it back as first, last, and moving on their own space.
While the $1 million went towards purchasing and renovating Transformation House, the foundation has also grown.
We went from 2,000 square feet downstairs to 45, almost 5,000 square feet upstairs here in Moniker Warehouse in the East Village.
Before the donation, the foundation served 220 youth each year. Now they're up to more than 500.
Including 95% of young people in the justice system. So the program is doubled, but it's also doubled in output.
They've also doubled their staff. including graduates of the program.
I have no idea where I would be without David's Harp. Kind of just from being locked up in East Mesa, like I kind of just had like a vision of what I wanted to do, and I had all my goals written down. Like I really wanted to be here.
Riley Reynes has grown a lot since we first met him in 2021. He's since graduated from high school and now serves as a full-time artist mentor for David's Harp.
I really just want to help kids who are kind of going through the struggle and just know that like it's better on this side of the fence and that you could kind of change and like be who you want to be and just be positive with it, you know?
Since 2007, STEP says the foundation has helped thousands of youth, and that $1 million has helped them have a greater impact.
What we chose to do was to go all in with young people and invest it directly in their future.
STEP hopes one day soon the courts will consider Transformation House and the foundation's workforce program an official alternative for youth facing incarceration. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Great story there. Well, Mother's Day is right around the corner, and industry analysts say the average person plans to spend more than $250 this year on gifts. Jen Sullivan has details on the most popular items to show Mom just how much you love her.
Happy Mother's Day! When it comes to celebrating Mom, consumers are shelling out.
Consumers spend on average for Mother's Day more than any other holiday except the winter holidays.
Catherine Cullen with the National Retail Federation says Mother's Day spending is expected to top $34 billion this year, with people celebrating spending an average of $259. That's around $5 more per person than last year.
They want to celebrate the moms and other mother figures in their lives.
According to the NRF's recent survey, the most popular gifts this year for Mom: flowers, greeting cards, outings like brunch or dinner, clothing, and jewelry.
There are lots of ways consumers can save, and also ways that they can create a meaningful memory with Mom through a gifted experience.
Other options that can help keep down the cost: a picnic, movie night at home, or a homemade craft.
The key is spending time together and something that's a little different for her.
Cullen also says some retailers are rolling out sales ahead of Mother's Day to help shoppers save. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Well, Saturday is Dia de las Madres in Mexico, and Sunday is Mother's Day. KPBS video journalist Matthew Bowler spoke with activists outside of Las Colinas jail who say when Mom is inside, it's like the whole family is serving time.
The theme of today's Mother's Day is celebrating hope.
That's Yusuf Miller, Executive Director of the North County Equity and Justice Coalition and Saving Lives in Custody, California. Miller says everyone has a mother, and many women are mothers, but not all of us get to be with our mothers to celebrate on their special day. Miller and a small group of mostly mothers created the first Mother's Day celebration inside the Las Colinas detention facility.
We want to change this day from something solemn into something celebratory.
Cheryl Canson, founder of Treat Me, Don't Mistreat Me, says perfection isn't a prerequisite for motherhood.
We want to help you forgive yourself and know that we all make mistakes.
The group worked with the San Diego Sheriff's Department for over a year to organize the event. Assistant Sheriff Dustin Lopez said the department allows events like these because it can help detainees with life after incarceration.
They're incarcerated is extremely important because even though they're behind these walls right now, they're part of our society. They will leave these walls. They will reintegrate with their families.
The 45-acre facility was opened in August of 2014 and can house 1,280 women. Today's party will be jam-packed.
There's going to be a band. There's going to be a comedian. There's going to be a motivational speaker, some special foods and special treats to let these women know they're not throwaway people.
Reminding these women that they can have a better future. Matthew Bowler, KPBS News.
We are talking about a little bit of a roller coaster ride as we go through the upcoming days, and it starts with more of a rise. The temperatures headed up and up as we head into the weekend. In fact, Saturday, really one of the hottest days that we've seen of this stretch so far. So warm weekend setting stage for us. But then we fall off quite a bit, and that fall takes place really quickly. It's cool for the early weeks, so we'll see those numbers really plummet down in just a short matter of time. Should know that there are heat advisories out there. Some of these are lasting through Saturday evening, so make sure you're paying attention in some locations. Remember that as we get through this early season heat, it's really quickly a problem to dehydrate fast. So remember to bring a lot of water wherever you're headed and continue to drink that and make sure you're staying hydrated as you're out and about. Tonight, not much in the way of cloud cover coming in. We will have some low clouds in a few spots out there, but it's going to be pretty limited as we head through tonight and even into tomorrow night. Not a ton of extra moisture. So this high pressure system is what's keeping everything dry, leading to some of our offshore flow in places and temperatures 10 to 20 degrees above historical averages for certain parts of our area. It is a warm trend going into the weekend. Numbers topping out at 79 for the high in the city as you work your way towards Ramona, 96, and Borrego Springs, 104 for you. As we work our way through the weekend, there is going to be a change in the pattern. That starts in the northwest on Sunday, but we'll find more of those changes coming through as we get into the early weeks. So the numbers drop off quite a bit here Monday into Tuesday. The coast going from the 70s for the weekend back into the 60s as we head through Monday and Tuesday. It's more of the same for our inland communities Monday and Tuesdays. We're still in the 60s then, but we start our weekend in the 90s. Inland, 93, that high. Mountain communities, 70s. We go back into the 50s, even 40s by the time we get into Tuesday. We'll start to warm our trend up a little bit more towards the middle of the upcoming week. You can see the deserts go back into the mid-80s after falling to the 70s on Tuesday. For KPBS News, I'm Melissa Constanzer.
Tomorrow, Project Blank presents Park Opera. It's a multi-site experience that redefines what opera can be by staging its performance across Balboa Park. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando has this preview.
If this is what you think opera has to sound like, then think again.
So this is an excerpt from the aria, and in this aria, each of the instrumental musical components include some sort of natural world device to them. In this case, the diva, the opera singer, is a bee, a little pollinating bumblebee.
That's Leslie Latham, artistic director of Project Blank and the pollinating bee diva of Park Opera.
The Park Opera is a modular opera installation where you take the component parts of an opera and then scatter them around a public park. And so people can take it at their own pace, take in as little or as much of it as they want. We'll give them a map when they arrive at our lobby, which will be the Morton Fig Tree. And we've got a path that we've designated for them, but people can take it at their pleasure.
It's an opera about listening.
So all of the sounds that the musicians are playing are really, really small, and this gestural language that invites the listener to kind of get closer.
Like for this flute solo.
So it's more percussive than it is like melodic in this movement in particular.
Composer Wojciech Blechasz creates a score that shows musician Anita Chandavakar how to play in an innovative way.
So this is what's called the head joint of an alto flute, and so you're supposed to play with like opening and closing this part, and then you're also supposed to have syllables that you say at the same time across what's called the embouchure hole, which is right here. So it's like. So it creates these like different kind of sounds that interface with the opera, which is really interesting. And then you have closed hole, open hole, like with the closed hole, and then outside you would just hold your hand like this, and then you do a fist, turn, fist. It is kind of complex, but I mean, I think it's very interesting. And once you get into it, you kind of get into a flow with it.
Getting into the flow means listening becomes the protagonist in this opera. And sometimes the park provides a bed of white noise or adds its own punctuation to the composition.
And at this part of the opera, we will have the binoculars station. So in an opera house, you use your spectacles to see the stage, but in this case, we're going to use them to hear bigger. Amplify the natural world with very analog tools like glass bottles and beakers.
It's all about composing your own listening experience, and by filtering a white noise and filtering using different materials next to your ears, you can hear different sounds.
Blay Hosh has performed park opera in different spaces around the globe, and he'll be tailoring it to Balboa Park.
This is the San Diego version of park opera, and this soundwalk is especially adapted for Balboa Park. Balboa Park is the libretto for the opera.
The park itself is a transformative place, and then the opera then just heightens that. It kind of helps you to disappear in this fantasy land.
A fantasy land that may contain unicorns.
In park opera, we invited the unicorns to also to perform with us, and they actually like to eat the rose petals.
So not really a place to come burdened with expectations.
I think leave them all behind, right? Expect the unexpected to be such a cliche, but bring sunscreen, bring some headphones. But yeah, come ready to engage in sound and performance in a way that you might never get a chance to see again.
And most importantly, be all ears.
Yeah, come with an open mind and open ears to actively listen to and enjoy Project Blank's Park Opera as it unfolds across Balboa Park for one day only tomorrow starting at 4 p.m. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
And you can be all ears and all eyes when you join us tonight for KPBS News This Week, where we revisit the most impactful and intriguing original reporting of the week. This week airs every Friday at 8:30 right here on KPBS. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Tribulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.